Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Here are some tips for using the Minimize Windows feature on your Mac. So when you're using your Mac, you often have more than one window open at the same time. Having a lot of windows open can be really distracting. One technique you can use to manage these windows is to minimize them. You can minimize a window to get it out of the way temporarily without closing the window. So the basics are that you click this yellow button at the top left corner of a window. Like this is a Pages document. Here, if I click this yellow button, it will minimize into the dock. Then if I want to go back to that window, I just go to the dock here and I could find that window. It's a little representation of what's in the window along with the app icon. If I click on it, then that window comes back. So I could easily get some windows out of the way to focus on the window I want and then bring these back when I'm ready to work with them again. Now, there are three ways to minimize a window. One I've already showed you is to click the yellow button, but you can also go to the window menu and choose Minimize. This does exactly the same thing. A third option is to use the keyboard shortcut. You saw it there when I used the window menu next to Minimize, it's Command M. So Command M will simply minimize the current window. If I want to minimize this one now, another Command M. There is actually a fourth way to minimize windows, but you have to turn it on in System Settings first. So go into System Settings and then go to Desktop and Dock. Then look for the option Window Title Bar Double Click Action. And you could set this to minimize. So with this set to minimize, you could double click the title bar and it will act just like you're clicking on the yellow button. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MACMOST through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Now, there's also a variation on the menu item Minimize. If you hold the Option key down, Minimize changes to Minimize All. This will minimize all of the windows, but only the ones for the current app. The menu here is for Pages, as you can see here on the left. So choosing this will minimize all three open windows for Pages at once. And now I can look here and see them all in the dock. Now, when you do have windows minimized, the way to bring them back, of course, is to click on them here in the dock. But there are other ways. For instance, you can use the window menu. And if you look here, you'll see a list of all of the current windows. There'll be a check mark next to the active window. Other windows will be shown here, and you could switch to them by selecting that window there in the window menu. In addition, if you look for the diamond icon here, you'll see minimize windows. So this is the window I minimized before. I could bring it back here. It will bring it out of the dock and restore it and make it the current window I'm working on. You can also bring back windows by going to the dock icon for the app, in this case, Pages. If I control click, right click, or two-finger click on a trackpad, or simply just click and hold, I'll get the context menu and I'll see the same listing of all the windows here with a check mark next to the current window, other windows listed as well, and a diamond next to any minimized windows, and I can bring back the window like that. Incidentally, there's no official word for bringing back a minimized window. You can simply say that you're restoring the window. You could say you're activating the window. You could say you're bringing it back. Some people use the term unminimize, which isn't really a word, but it kind of describes what you're doing. Some people say de-minimize or de-miniaturize is actually used in some places as well. And here's one more way to bring back minimized windows. I'm going to minimize 2 out of the 3 Pages windows here, and you could see them here in the dock. Now, if you were to use Mission Control, say with Control up arrow here, you'd notice that you don't see minimized windows. You would just have to access them in the dock here the same way you would do even if you weren't using Mission Control. But if you use App Expose, which is Control and then down arrow, then you get to see all of the currently open windows for the app you're using. And in addition, in apps like Pages, you get to see recently opened documents down here and minimized windows. So I can now click on one of these and it will bring the minimized window back. Now, when you minimize a window like this, and let's say you switch to another app, if you switch back, say using the app switcher, Command Tab, I go back to Pages, it just brings the frontmost window that isn't minimized to the front. The one that is minimized is still there. It stays there. Anyway, I switch back to the app, like say clicking on the dock icon, choosing it in Spotlight, whatever I'm doing, it's not going to bring back any minimized window. This is one of the negatives of the minimize feature. If you minimize all of these windows here, say all of the Pages windows, you switch to another app, and let's say use the app switcher to go back to Pages, nothing happens. Pages is running. It has 3 open windows, but they're all minimized here. And simply switching back to the app doesn't unminimize any of them. Well, at least switching back using the app switcher. If you switch back to the app another way by using the dock, it will take the topmost window and unminimize it. So it brings it back. It won't do that with the others. It will just do it if all of the windows are currently minimized. So for instance, here with Calendar, if I were to minimize Calendar and then go in the dock here and click on Calendar again, it brings it back. I don't need to go to the right side of the dock to do that. Calendar just has that one window. I minimize it. I click on it in the dock again, and it brings it back. Now, if you minimize windows a lot, you're going to end up with a lot of stuff on the right side of the dock. However, you could avoid that with a setting in System Settings here. If you go to Desktop and Dock, and then look for Minimize Windows into Application Icon. This changes something fundamental about minimizing windows. So if I have that on, look what happens if I minimize this window. It doesn't go to the right side of the dock. It seems to go down into the app icon. And I can minimize each window like that. So now you could see I've got nothing on the right side of the dock. If I control click, right click, or 2-finger click, or just click and hold on the app icon there, I can see the same menu I saw before, and I can bring back the minimized windows this way, just like before. I could also use the window menu, assuming I'm in the right app, and bring them back that way. All that was available before. So all that this option really does is it stops the windows from appearing on the right side of the dock. And some people may like the items there, some people may not. So it's up to you. Now, it's important to note that minimizing works a little differently when you have Stage Manager turned on. I'm going to go to Control Center here and turn on Stage Manager so you can see my different sets here to the left. So I can switch to any one of these sets as you would if you're using Stage Manager. But let's say I'm here in Pages. I've got these 3 windows here. If I minimize, notice it goes to the left side like that. I can minimize this one, and you can see how they disappear here like that. And I can bring it back one by clicking in Stage Manager like that. You can even do it if you just have one window open. So I'll go here to Calendar, and I will minimize this window here. And you can see how it goes into Stage Manager, and I can bring it back. So minimizing works pretty smoothly with Stage Manager. And in fact, if you like minimizing windows, then Stage Manager is kind of the next step there. It divides up all of your windows into individual apps. And you could still combine windows from different apps into different app sets here on the left. I won't go into too much detail here about Stage Manager, but if you're someone that has a lot of apps open and is always minimizing all these different windows to just have the ones you want, then Stage Manager may actually be the ideal way to work for you. So you may want to give it a try. Now, as a full alternative to minimizing windows, you may want to do what I do. I rarely minimize windows. Instead, I hide apps. So I'm using Pages here. I've got 3 windows open in Pages. If I choose Pages and then hide Pages, or simply just Command H, it hides all 3 of those windows. Here in Calendar, I've got 1 window open. I can do Command H to hide that window. I'm in Notes. If I want, notice I can go to Hide Others, Option Command H, and that'll hide everything but Notes. All this stuff is still running. You can still see it here. The windows aren't minimized. The apps are just hidden right now. And I can easily bring them back using either the dock or, unlike minimizing, the app switcher. So I can go back to Pages here in the app switcher and bring back all of my Pages windows. But there's another way you may want to handle it. You can just quit the app. So here I've got 3 Pages windows. Maybe I've even made a change here like that. And I haven't even saved. If I do Command Q or Pages quit, all those windows go away. And you may think now it would be hard to get them back, and perhaps I've even lost my changes. But that's not the case. If I go and launch Pages again, all of those windows will return, and the change is still there. This only works if in System Settings, under Desktop and Dock, you've got it set up so that you do not close windows when quitting an application. This is turned off here. the windows don't actually close. The app just quits and then resumes when you launch the app again. The result is very much the same as hiding the app or minimizing all the windows and then bringing them all back. I can quit pages. I can go back to pages like this, and all of the windows are there. I can do the same thing even with Safari. I've got 3 tabs open. Here's a window. I can quit Safari, and I could go back to Safari, and it reopens that window and reopens those 3 tabs. So you can minimize windows, you can hide the app, or you could just quit the app and resume it by relaunching later. And the same is true for closing a window. For instance, here I am in this window here. I'll do another change. It's going to auto save when I close the window, and I could easily go to File, Open Recent, and bring that window back. A lot of times people leave documents and windows open just because they think they may need them later in the day or tomorrow or sometime in the next few days, but you could just close it and open the document again. It even works in non-document apps like that 3-tab window here in Safari. If I were to close this window, I could then go to History and then reopen the last closed window. So there's even a way to do it in that situation. If you find you're leaving apps running with windows open and not using them for days on end, you may want to reconsider how easy it is to close that window, close that document, or even just quit the whole app and then resume later. And there's one more setting I want to show you that's just cosmetic. It controls the animation you get when you minimize a window. So here I click the minimize button and it's going to animate going into the dock. That animation is called the genie effect. Here I'll play it again, but slow down so you could see exactly what it's doing. It's kind of squeezing the window into the dock. And it does the same thing when you unminimize, just in reverse. But if you go into System Settings and you go to Desktop Dock, you'll notice there's a way to change from genie effect to scaled effect. So now when you minimize, it simply does that. Here, I'll slow it down for you so you can see what this does. It's actually a little bit faster, so you may like it just because of that. So if you like to minimize the windows on your Mac, I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Want to know about every new MACMOST video each week? Sign up for the absolutely free MACMOST email newsletter at macmost.com/newsletter.